Have to do is play *439#. Follow the prompts. It is option 2 for TV3, and that money goes straight to you. The more times you play, of course, the higher your chances of winning. If you don't play, you don't win. It is *439#. Make sure you cash out with us this morning. Well, let's get into big issue proper. I will introduce my panel this morning. Let me start directly opposite me. I've got Dr. Ekia Amwako. She's part of the NPP communications team. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, Helen.
How are we doing?
We're doing well by His grace.
I guess it's not too late to say Happy New Year.
Not at all. It's not too late to say Happy New Year to all your cherished viewers at home, the co-panelists. And today I have a special message for my people in the MPP, those who are still nursing their wounds after our defeat, also to those who had lost trust in us and so did not turn up at the polls to vote. I have a few words for them this morning of encouragement that we should all join hands and rebuild, because it indeed is possible and we'll be able to come back stronger. I think this is the time for us to organize and not to agonize.
Okay, I like that. Organize, don't agonize.
Exactly.
Wise.
Dr. Manubuam is free, so.
Hey, well, good morning. I haven't even had a chance to say good morning.
I just want to correct it, because those times when you say it's possible, they catch.
Oh, but you also say it's possible.
Doc, have you trademarked it is possible?
No, we haven't, and I don't think Dr. Manebuama has trademarked that as well. I didn't even know that was
I just want to remind
that was
you.
from him.
Well, on that note, let me say good morning and warm welcome.
Colleagues, I think he wouldn't mind I borrow his phrase.
Awo Edubiake Kelly is also a member of the NDC's communication team. Our Happy New Year. Good to see you. Good morning.
Happy returns there. Good morning to everybody. Auntie Susan, it's been like ages. Since 2016, since we lost, I never saw her again. We never met like on air. I see you on air, but we never met like this before. It's been a while. Happy New Year.
Many happy returns.
And I miss you. I miss the fire. Those times how she can fire me and when we were in power. Yeah, Auntie Susan. When it's like when I saw her, the flyer, I was like, yeah. And then because she had my mini.
So I should be expecting some fire this morning.
This time she's not like that. She's gone back.
Susan.
Who said she's not like that?
Let me say good morning then and a warm welcome
and good
to
morning
Susan.
I'm Kabe. Auntie,
Sure.
yeah.
Yes,
As for her,
darling.
she's been a mother, big sister to be all this while.
Charlie.
I miss you.
I miss you
The
too.
phone, I didn't see the time you left.
Yeah,
One week.
I left them. I left around
Anyway, thank God we are
around 12.
Oh, okay.
All right, we also have Susan Edu-Amankwa here, member Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Susan, who have you missed? A lot of I miss you going around. Happy New Year.
Many happy returns.
How was the year started off for you?
I think the year started off well. We have high hopes for the year, and we are looking beyond what we see, and beyond the obvious. So we definitely have hope that there'll be better things for this country.
Absolutely. And also, no stranger to the platform, Nanaya Achimpim Jantwa, former General Secretary of the CPP. Nanaya, good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. I'm surprised to find you here.
No, don't be surprised.
This is not your station.
Today it's my station,
Okay.
and I'm going to be here with you all for us to discuss these issues. I know you're very passionate about these national issues. So let's jump straight in, ladies. And yesterday, the NPP held a press conference addressing journalists concerning the Operation Recover All Loot Committee. Now, the MPP is asking former government officials and appointees to disregard the mandate of the Oral Committee and not to avail themselves to any invitations from the committee. We'll take a quick listen to that presser by the NPP. It was the Suame MP, Honorable John Darko, who addressed the press. We'll also listen to former Majority Leader Oseche Mensah Bonsu. He also weighed in on the issue of oral. We'll also hear from AG Designate, also Minister of Justice Designate, Dr. Dominic Ayine, also sharing his thoughts on the legality or otherwise of the Oral Committee. When we come back, we'll dissect the issues.
Because we believe that there are constitutionally established bodies that can investigate any so-called misdeeds of the government. What are they doing? What they are doing is to go about disturbing people, entering homes, taking vehicles, seizing vehicles, and more or less taking over lands from people who have genuinely purchased lands. What the former government officials have done is to acquire properties that legally they were acquired. No illegality has taken place in any case. The NDC, their members have also acquired lands in this country. The executives, Kucheto Ablakwa and Co., they live in the cantonments, they live in the airport, they live in the childhood, lands which were government lands, which they bought many years ago.
If you think that he used unauthorized means to acquire the property, let's resort to due process, right, and retrieve it for the state. But you don't take this in your own hands to say that, you know, at the very outset.
They've been visiting sites.
You have established criminality, and the person has looted even before the person is properly investigated and tried. What kind of system is that?
They've been visiting states, sites, lands, and all that, asking
from Kumasi today,
for
and I heard
for national security to be stationed there.
Themselves into, one of them a journalist, another person, you know, a former, you know, hand engaged by the previous administration, and the two of them have come together and they are saying that, oh, we've written letters to these people to return this and return this. If you don't, we come there. Now, listening to them, no, but say, you better be wow. The dignity of any person in a democracy is inviolable. What authority do you have? Say, office will be for the was never be wow. I'm coming to beat you. I'm coming to lash you. What is Ghana degenerating into? And I think that the president should speak to these things. I think the president, as a president, should stand his authority. That we are not in the animal kingdom. Let us respect due process. If you have any suspicion, draw the attention of the appropriate authority. Let investigation be conducted. If the person is found culpable and he has to be charged, he would be, to serve as a deterrent.
Right.
But you don't take the law into your own hands and start issuing threats to people. I think it's going to dent the image of Ghana.
So, Honorable Nominee, you have become aware of the aura. You become aware of the aura.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
In your view,
oral was an integral part of our campaign message.
Right.
And our campaign, I was a surrogate campaigner for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and he's committed to oral, and I'm committed to it as well.
Right. So, good. In your view, do you see this committee as a constitutionally empowered committee? You think that it has a constitutional backing or any statutory backing to have this committee in place?
Well, if by constitutional backing, there are two ways by which the Constitution would have backed oral. That is, if it was specifically stated in the Constitution, such as the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, which is not the case, or if the Constitution provided the framework, the constitutional framework for the establishment of a body called the Operation Recover or Loot. But I think I stated quite, clearly, and I don't know whether you were in the room when I gave the answer that one of the fundamental principles of the Constitution is the principle of accountability. And oral is about exacting accountability.
All right, so let's get back to the discussions, and top of the list is the oral committee and, of course, what the NPP had to say as far as whether or not it is illegal or constitutional. Doc, I'll start off with you on this particular one, and I want to situate the conversation in this manner. Now, given that the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution, gives the president executive powers to set up committees and/or task forces to assist in governance. Also, given that there's a corruption mandate on all of us as a people, look at Article 35(8), Article 41(f). It obligates both the state and citizens to combat corruption and protect public resources. With that as a basis, what exactly is the MPP's gripe with the setting up of the oral committee?
I don't think the MPP, I don't think it's a fair assertion to say that we have a gripe with setting up of the oral committee.
You have some concerns, you would say?
Yes, the position of the MPP right now is that the oral committee has no basis in our law. So it's very important to, again, situate the conversation in our current society. We've come a long way. And as a civilization, as a population, we decide whether by convention or by actually enacting laws, the way we should carry ourselves in terms of these things. And so we have decided that if you have an allegation against someone, you go to court or you go to a competent authority and then the case is adjudicated there. One of the things that have been decided across the globe, I can't think of any country where when you have an allegation, you don't have a right to face your accuser so that the case can be decided. So we don't live in a jungle where you just get up and do whatever you want. So as we were having these discussions earlier, what basis in law does the oral committee have? I was just sitting here looking at, you were talking about a commission. Is it a commission of inquiry? Because setting up a commission of inquiry requires different requirements. If you are quoting Article 41(f), does that give a citizen the right to investigate an allegation of corruption? It's just showing your personal responsibility in pointing out these issues. And let me just make this clear. This does not go to mean that the MPP is saying that we are not going to avail ourselves for any investigations regarding allegations of corruption. During the campaign period, as has become very characteristic of the NDC, they seem to run a very populist campaign where they focus almost solely on throwing around false allegations, usually of corruption.
You say the allegations are false?
Yes, and let me land and it would all make sense to you. In 2008, that campaign season was also very heated. What did the NDC go into that campaign with again? Corruption. They even went as far as to printing the bank statements of certain top members of the MPP government at that time, saying that they had looted large sums of money and so they had these sums of money in their accounts. Some of the other allegations, the more ridiculous ones, were President Kufuor's supposed 2 children. I don't know where they've disappeared to now. These are things that were done at that point. Fast forward, the NDC government comes into power. They go on a tirade and actually attempt or prosecute about 30 people from the previous MPP government. None of those prosecutions led to a conviction. So do you understand when I say there's a basis of saying a lot of these things lack? I mean, maybe they have merit and temerity only in the imagination of the accusers, because a lot of them are not situated in reality. But as a country and as a people, when people come up with these serious allegations of corruption, to be able to build a system that is robust, where things are working properly, we all have to work collectively to deal with the issue of corruption. So yeah, if you feel like something untoward was done, you have every right to bring these things up through the proper means so that a proper investigation can be done. Because what we don't want is for all of this to degenerate into a persecution tyrant.
You say like a witch hunt.
Exactly. You know, not too long ago, it looks like it's so far away in history where people were burning people at the stake for being witches and whatnot. But there was around these kind of same, a commission is set up or a team is set up, and as it is set up, it has a lot of public support. I mean, look at the temperature in the country during the campaign and even now. So it was a little even genius on their part to do that because it stoked the sentiment.
So you say this is more political, a political strategy as opposed to
obviously
the president actually wanting to exact accountability.
Any student of politics can see through it.
Is that not convenient though for the NPP to?
It's not convenient. And I started by displaying the precedent, how this has happened before. This is the way they seem to want to run their campaigns. So, and we have time. Now, as we all say, we are here, we don't judge. They can, and now the onus is on them to be able to prove all these allegations. I saw one of their things where they are saying they are going to recoup about 18 billion, was it dollars? From supposed acts of corruption to be able to rebuild the state. We are all here eagerly waiting for them to be able to recoup that amount. I mean, it doesn't even sound very plausible to a normal person. It's just something that was made to stoke up sentiments of people because it will work, and it worked. So to come back to the issue, if you are really serious about this and what you want to do is really find out people that have done anything corrupt, I don't think any fair-minded Ghanaian will be against that. It's the way and manner it's going about. So yeah, somebody from the oral committee comes to a land that you've bought that is supposedly state lands or whatever, but you acquired it legitimately. So at that point, it's your private property. What locus does that team have to enter your private property to start that investigation? Because it wasn't situated properly. It's oral a commission of inquiry, then they have the mandate to do certain things. But as it is, it's a group of, is it 5 or 4 people?
There's 5 members on the committee.
Exactly, sitting down and, I don't know, receiving gossip. Is that what it is?
They say they've been inundated. They've got a hotline, they've got an email as well. And concerned citizens, they say day by day, send what they say are allegations. And for them, they're on a validation, shall I say, adventure, so that they're not investigating. From what I understand, the oral committee will be working in tandem with the institutions that you and I know are mandated to deal with corruption issues.
So EOCO,
they've been set up by the president. The president has executive power to do so.
Yes, he has executive power to set up different kinds of committees.
Yes, and he set up oral.
What's the mandate of the oral committee? What authority under the laws of this country are they operating
What laws are they
under?
in contravention of?
No, what law? So you are trying to compel somebody to come for an interview. Based on what authority are you compelling that person?
Based
See,
on
we
the
don't live in a jungle. We live in a country where there's rule of law, where there's a laid-down way to do things.
That's why I want to find out,
You don't just wake up and do what you want.
Just so that we can be clear, is it the position of the NPP that the oral committee is illegal?
Exactly.
Why?
It has no basis. No, you haven't given me a legal basis for the oral committee.
I'm just eliciting your thoughts on this, because that a committee is not legal does not then make it illegal. It doesn't. What laws would you say the oral committee has contravened?
The question here is what's in the law of this country, in our constitution.
The executive powers of the president to do that.
To set up
a task force that can allow him or will help with, bear with me, will be helping with accountability and also corruption issues.
So what is the mandate of the oral committee? When they call you, they call me, for instance, what is the mandate? What are they doing?
I don't believe that they are calling individuals. Susan, bear with me. I believe that they haven't actually called anybody. From what I understand, they're facilitating, shall I say, investigations. So in as much as persons can go to these institutions, EOCO, SHRAJ, OSP, and what have you, they've opened up the phone lines. They have a hotline. They have a way in which they receive information.
Do you agree that TV3 could do that? Do you agree that Media General, I could set up it somewhere and then...
Would it be illegal, Doc, if you decided that you were going to go around and get information about armed robbery?
But I don't have the authority to compel someone.
The Constitution, but in terms of compelling, I want us to make that distinction so that we can all be clear.
So if no one is compelling anyone, then there's nothing to discuss here. Yes, because what we are discussing here today is that the MP... Oh, I mean, this thing always happens on TV3 where you never let me talk.
Please, you have the floor.
Exactly, and I even lost my train of It's not. I mean, we can all do that to each other, but it's not a nice thing. So, as I was saying, what was I even saying? See the point of this? Can you come again?
I am. I'm certainly calculating the time.
Yes, thank you. So, how do you, on what grounds are you compelling me to appear? Do you understand? And we are forgetting that there's a very thin line in these things between prosecution and persecution. That's why we set up law courts where things are transparent, where things can go through the proper way. Now, the NDC government just came in power. They have a lot of goodwill, so nobody is going to complain about this. But when it gets to a point where the oral committee can just come to a businessman in Accra's property and say that, oh, someone sent me an email, and this could have been from anybody, any number of people who just simply do not like you, that there's a problem with your land, and now they come in there after you. Is that the kind of society we want to build? No. This is simply a discussion on a matter of principle. If you believe someone has done something wrong, what is the problem with charge? I know very soon we're going to talk about the cathedral and whatnot. Why not send that to the to oral? That has gone through the proper channels and is receiving the attention it deserves, isn't it? So exactly what I'm saying, what is the point of it? The fact that you have the right, just as we got to that conclusion, that you and I both can decide to set up a table in our rooms and then ask for information. But that doesn't make it an institution that is backed by law to investigate corruption. That's all we are saying. And so if it's not an institution that is backed by law to investigate corruption, why should ex-appointees of the MPP government avail themselves for a discussion? It's as simple as that. The question was whether on the statement made by the MPP caucus is that we are not going to avail ourselves to the oral committee because there has no basis in our legal framework. And it's just absolutely on point. If the court or SHRAJ calls anybody, of course they will avail themselves. And then anybody who in the past government has done anything, I don't think there's an attempt to shield anyone. We are just confident that as a party, we do not condone that kind of culture. So we are going to contribute and do our best if any elements like that exist. What we don't want is the persecution of people needlessly, because now it might sound fine and happy and people might laugh about it and even be excited, because human beings have that tendency to enjoy the difficulties of other human beings. But when the shoe is on the other foot, when now is your husband's property that happens to be in Cantonment, that was probably acquired somewhere during President Mohammed's first administration legally. Maybe it was bought cheaply, but he still purchased it. He has the land and everything. He's been running a business on that land. And now they come and tell you it's not going through any due process. And my problem with all of these things is that usually the cases are dealt with in the court of public opinion, even before it goes to court. See, this is why as a society we have structures and we have a way of doing things. Or I'll find something. The first time somebody is going to hear about this, probably on the same network, TV3. One of the members is going to come and sit here and talk about it. There's a reason why we have law courts, so that things like this do not happen. You are supposed to be able to meet your accuser, explain yourself, and then an independent body, usually a judge or a jury, decide whether the case has merit. But if you make it a group of 5 people who are also going to immediately come into the media to say so and so and so, then what are we doing as a country? So, Doc, is it a question for you of procedure? That the right procedures have not been put in place? It's as simple as that. So that if the right legal frameworks can support the legs of the oral committee, the NPP then would have If it was a commission of inquiry, like a properly set up commission of inquiry, which I was looking at here, what goes into a commission of inquiry by our constitution, the composition, the powers of a commission, and the function of a commission. Do you know this conversation would not even be necessary? So you say if it was a commission as against a committee, you'd have no problem. But what is wrong with having a lot more hands involved in the fight of corruption? What we are discussing right now are matters of legality, matters that could lead to prosecution, matters that lead to tarnishing the images of people. Recently, I was on social media where I saw a post of a young real estate developer. He's been doing stuff in Kumasi and Accra, and something comes up that one of his properties is on the land of somebody and fronting for some. And it turns out it's just so far from the truth. This creates an avenue for people to just witch hunt each other. I can sit here and say, okay, I don't like Nanaya, and I've seen that she has a property somewhere in Cantonment, and come up with something, and then it will not even be investigated. That's where the idea of
and you say it's dangerous because by then the
yeah, exactly. You are supposed to be
perceptions would have already been formed.
Innocent before. That's why we have a legal framework and a court system in a civilized country. It's as simple as that. So that somebody doesn't just say something like that. People have believed that, even though it's not true. And he could be persecuted for this kind of thing. And we don't want to have a society that degenerates into a jungle kind of...
Certainly. I want to move over to Awo on this one. But before I do that, quickly, I'm reading an excerpt here from the Chronicle. This is July 2003. And this was set up by the Kufuor administration. It was called the Office of Accountability. It's very short. Now, the Office of Accountability, ladies, recently instituted at the Castle Osu, will not investigate or try cases, but will alert the president to ward off malfeasance in the offing. This means that the Office of Accountability will not duplicate the functions of such constitutional and statutory bodies, such as the Serious Fraud Office, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, the Auditor General, the Police CID, and the Bureau of National Investigations.
One last word.
Yes.
You said, what was it called? Oral was set up under executive power.
I'm time-keeping, ladies. Bear with me, please.
Under executive power, isn't it? So when
20 seconds
when was the oral committee set up?
This was set up before, actually, President Mahama was. So
what's executive power? You see how we are already starting to degenerate into a jungle kind of living?
Doc, I'll come back. It's an important point, and I will. It's a matter of technicality. Before
it's not really a matter. If you are not sworn in, you are not president.
That's let's move on, because this whole thing, you're just going in circles.
Now it's President Mahama. He's President Mahama now. It would be a procedural, shall I say, flaw, and the oral team can be reconstituted. But on this particular oral institution, we have bodies that are mandated to look at corruption: the OSP, SHRASH, EOCO. Does the oral committee not undermine what these bodies are said to do? Are we not simply duplicating these efforts?
Thank you so much, my sister. You see, when we start going round in circles, saying the same thing all over again, like 3-5 times, it doesn't help. Because seriously, when you don't have anything to say or argue, I just don't get it. In this case, the oral was set up before, like you said, the president was inaugurated.
That's right.
Came into office. But it's part of our manifesto promise. And it's one of the reasons why Ghanaians voted for us, because of the corruption. The first question I ask is, how did we get here? I remember when President Kufuor took over, like you rightly read, he set up an accountability office, and everybody was happy. He even jailed people from the previous governments. And we all saw the agitations and everything that went on with people having to go to court for 8 bad years. Then when he was leaving office, he told people that it's been cancelled, like the Nana Kunedu issue and all that. So what was that whole thing about? Though they took them to court. Accountability office, what was it about? They said they were trying to find, I don't even want to go into that. Let me go into the oral, because that was set up now. Why, or where are we coming from? How did we get here as a people? The corruption allegations that were never looked into. We have a president who became a clearing agent in this country. As soon as the issue comes up, he's the first person to say that, oh, this person, I'm not sure will do this. I remember the famous case of Cecilia Adapa, where he even called the "my sweet" or "my dear Cecilia Adapa, I know you'll be exonerated." Because for him, there is nothing that is corrupt about whatever was going on, or his appointees. I remember even President Kufuor, he said he will never in his government accept any corrupt allegation against his appointee, so that...
Who said that?
President Kufuor. I don't know if Auntie will remember. Auntie...
Where did he say this?
Oh, that he will never accept any allegation of corruption against his people, so that it won't be a tag on his government. President Kufuor, we can go back. Maybe it's been, I don't remember the day, the time, or whatever. But he said it. We were in this country when he said that he won't do it so that his government will be in the bad books of Ghanaians. And he jailed other appointees, but none of his appointees were jailed. We remember the famous Father for All incidents in this country when NDC took over, because the old prof felt that we are all Ghanaians, let us live together, whatever is in the past, let's move forward. Even appointees were left in office to the point that they burnt offices. MMDs and all that were left in office for months, and a whole lot of things happened in this country before we could say, Jack, government institutions have gone down, even in the NDC era. Fortunately, we've been given a second chance as a party. And this is something Ghanaians are looking for. All those allegations that were not looked into, the PDS, the COVID funds, and all that.
Is the oral committee going to be looking into these particular...
It's a committee that is trying to gather facts, gather informations. Then they'll be giving it to. Now, unfortunately, we vetted. Fortunately, we vetted the Attorney General, but he's not been into office yet, and he will do that. They will hand over to all these bodies, like the IOCO, the Shraj. The Attorney General will have to take up some of the issues that are maybe bigger than all those other bodies. The Special Prosecutor's Office too is there. So this particular office, let me read Article 41F. It said,